So welcome to the Munro Live Podcast. I'm Matthew. I am an engineer here at Munro Associates. My background, I've been in electrification for over a decade, specializing in mechatronics, battery systems, and battery integration. For those of you new here, Munro Associates is a consulting firm. We are a global leader in reverse engineering, costing, benchmarking, and teardowns. And with that, I'll let Quincy introduce himself.
Yeah, Matt, good to be here with you. My name is Quincy for the audience. I'm CEO and founder of Electric Era. Electric Era builds retail integrated EV fast charging stations that are battery backed and provide a delightful driver experience that's akin to the Tesla Supercharge network. We're deployed in around 20 locations across the country, growing about 3x year over year, and we serve about 3,000 to 4,000 drivers every single month. We're a team of SpaceX engineers, and we're excited to kind of bring EV charging into the forefront and the next generation of technology and make it better for the driver. Excited to be here with you today.
All right. Yeah. Thanks for being here again. So let's jump into it. So did a little bit of reading about you, and your background is structural engineering, actually, right?
Yeah. Way back when I used to design tall skyscrapers, and I was doing research on, blast analysis for survivability of structures because I wanted to build nuclear power plants, and obviously you have to design for that criteria. But that was my original engineering background.
And then where did you go to university?
I was at Ohio State, where I swam as a collegiate swimmer. And that's actually what brought me to Ohio State. I started off kind of head in the clouds, thought I was going to go to the Olympics, and really honestly didn't give much time to my studies or thought to what I wanted to do after school. I was mainly just, heads down in a pool basically twice a day for at least 4 hours. And of course, found engineering and got a degree at Ohio State in structural engineering. And then did my master's at Oregon State. I'm originally from Portland, Oregon, so I moved back home, and then was, a TA and a graduate research assistant at Oregon State while I was finishing up my master's degree, which was the way that I ended up getting into SpaceX, where I started my professional engineering career in 2014 at SpaceX. It was long ago, before they were landing rockets. Way back in January of 2014, I showed up kind of star-eyed, and ended up working there for 7 years prior to founding Electric Era.
So like at SpaceX, what was like some of the first like shaping moments for you there? Because that sounds like it was like your first job out of university, right?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot. I think actually the week before we landed, there was a video that was a week before I started there was a video that was released online by the SpaceX team of the rocket trying to land, and it was coming back in over the Pacific or the Atlantic or wherever, and ended up kind of getting oscillated rotationally and exploding right before they landed.
I think I know that one. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like one of the very first videos they caught of the vehicle landing. And I just remember thinking, oh my gosh, this is a place where they're actually creating the future, and I want to be part of it. And then I showed up, and it was just a whirlwind of energy and intensity. It kind of felt like, going on, the stock trading floor and Wall Street, where everybody's like yelling and screaming. It's like that much energy in the building all the time, especially way back in 2014 when it was like a lot more, mission oriented people that are just like gun ho about it. And I just remember feeling, underprepared, I would say the least. I'm sure my first manager at SpaceX was like, oh man, that guy was an idiot.
Who is this kid? Yeah.
Yeah. Who is this kid? No, but eventually kind of learned my way around, learned how to be kind of a productive member of the team, and then started taking on bigger and bigger projects. I would say, there was two seminal moments in my career there. The first was in 2016 when I took over. I guess it was probably 2015 when I took over a project to basically automate the testing of the fairing, which is the top part of the Falcon 9 rocket. You have to do like a structural test on it before you send it to orbit. And, we wanted to automate that. And that was just a huge project I had to really, really cut my teeth on to, do productively. And it was especially intense because I had to actually, build the thing during like just a 2-week downtime period in the production line. We had to like stick it in, and if anything messed up, I would have taken down production for the Falcon 9 rocket, which was not an option. So I worked some late nights and didn't sleep much for basically about a year to get that done.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
That was the first big moment. And the second big moment was when I took over the Gateway Ground Station Antenna program for SpaceX Starlink. I ended up moving in 2016 to Seattle, where I am now, and worked on this early days of the Starlink program. And then during my last like year and a half there, took over the Gateway Ground Station Antenna program and was tasked with the global rollout of these large parabolic antennas all across the globe. And that was incredibly challenging, but also really, really fun, and kind of prepared me well for the work that we do at Electric Era.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. What, from all the lessons you learned at SpaceX, what do you think you're bringing into Electric Era now?
Technology-driven product design, I would say, like first principles engineering thinking to an industry that has been kind of, riding on the wave of big industrial product engineering companies, design approaches. I would say, making sure that the product is designed as minimalistically as possible with really good foundational physics approaches, and done in a manner that delights the driver and the end customer. Like that's, I would say, the most foundational things that I ported over from Electric Era into the DNA of, from SpaceX into the DNA of Electric Era.
Using all that now, I guess 2019 you started Electric Era, right?
Yeah, the company was incorporated in 2019, but I didn't end up leaving SpaceX until August or maybe July of 2020.
Okay. And what was like the catalyst for you to want to start Electric Era and like delve into infrastructure now with electric DC charging?
Yeah, I mean, I founded the company to really decarbonize transportation. That was the foundational reason. I wanted to make a meaningful impact on the world and build the infrastructural base that the driver community needed to feel comfortable in the seat of an EV in order to get people to buy EVs to help decarbonize transportation and mobility. I think as I learned more about electric vehicles, I realized how much of a superior product platform an electric powertrain driven car is. And then it, for me, became about both decarbonizing and electrifying transportation. I just think EVs are badass products and they're really fun to drive, but they have this one edge case of usage around charging availability that kind of makes them not functional.
You're exactly right.
And it's like, man, it's like this just amazing treasure trove of goodies that people won't jump into because of this weird little edge case around charging availability and reliability. And so that's the founding mission of the company, is to build ubiquitous, affordable, and reliable charging infrastructure in the best location, so drivers are just ready to jump into the treasure trove, so to speak.
Yeah, because when it comes to infrastructure, people don't realize how important actually that is. It's like hand in fist with the electric vehicle. If you don't have a good charging network, there's no electric vehicle. So I think it's great that you're looking into the infrastructure side of that as well.
Yeah, I like to harken it back to, how many people would be driving gas vehicles if there was no gas station?
Exactly.
There would be no gas cars.
Yeah, we'd all be riding horses.
Yeah, that we'd all still literally be riding horses. And you could say the same thing about horses. It's like nobody would be riding horses if there wasn't any stables or hay to eat. Or water to drink. Like you need these kind of symbiotic systems to coexist with one another in order to catalyze. It's actually another good analogy for the audience is think about how many NVIDIA GPUs would be sold if there was no foundational AI models, or vice versa. Like there's many things in society. You could say the same thing about Intel and the PC and the software that runs the PC during that era. Like has to be symbiosis between two kind of
dissimilar
seemingly dissimilar industries that rely on one another.
I know with charging infrastructure, I own a Chevy Bolt, and I've been in situations where like I'm going and I need a fast charge somewhere, and I don't realize that the charger's down. I think the spec is 60 to 70% of DC fast chargers are actually running and having uptime. So like, are you, with the SpaceX reliability that you're instilling into electric era, is that like something you're looking into as well? Like just the uptime and reliability of your systems?
Yeah, that's a huge part of it. So reliability, availability, which would be like another way to say uptime, usability, speed of charge, and actual location. Those are kind of the guiding criteria, the true north for the business and the product as I see it, that gives drivers really what they need. And kind of going one by one, when they show up, it needs to be online and available. And then when they plug in, it needs to reliably work right away. And then it needs to deliver charge expediently, so that car is fast. And ideally, that location should be conveniently located. And when you show up, you should be able to like quickly access it and not have to download 10 apps. So those are, and I hear all these funny stories from drivers that are like, oh yeah, I went on this road trip and I had to download like literally 5 apps and none of them actually worked. And I had to upload money to these apps. And when I got there to use it, the charging station was broken.
Yep. That was literally my trip from Detroit to Muskegon and back.
It's crazy, man. And, when I hear those types of stories, I'm like, man, if that was my experience, fortunately it's not because I drive a Tesla, but if that was my experience, I would be much less inclined to purchase an EV. So Tesla did it really well with the supercharger network. Congrats to the team. Of course, they did a fantastic job. We're aiming to augment that and grow that. Because even if Tesla was producing at full bore, we would still have a very small fraction of the total amount of charging infrastructure that the globe and the world and the US needs. So Electric Era and others really need to step up and fill that gap.
Yeah. So what is exactly your product? I know you guys have the power node, and from what I understand, it's a battery bank backed with, or a DC fast charger backed with a battery bank, right?
Yeah, I think the simplest way for the audience to think about it is imagine like a full gas station just showing up. That's our product. It's all of the chargers, it's the electrical backend infrastructure, it's the maintenance and operations of the charging station, it's the software, it's the retail integration to the on-site store, and it's all payments and everything holistically that a customer, a retailer, in our case, we sell to fueling retailers, needs to stand up the next generation of gas stations. Like that's as simple as you could think of it. So it's that full comprehensive ecosystem of solutions, the full charging station plopped down, including even the design services and consulting for, where to build it, for the customer. All of that comes together in one cohesive package. And then from a driver's perspective, we operate it in a way where you show up, you tap your credit card, you plug in, it works. As simple as it is. You don't have to do anything else, download any apps, none of that. You can just simply do it.
Yeah, so you're partnering with like the gas stations or 7-Elevens or other corner stores, or are you trying to also build retail, like retail stations or retail shops yourself that are Electric Era branded?
We're not doing that second part. We want to stay in our swim lane and be exceptionally good and world class at building and operating the EV fast charging station, including the hardware, the software, and the operations. So we sell that set of solutions, as you said, to fueling retailers. So for the audience, think of a fueling retailer as anyone like a convenience store, a gas station, a big box retail location, or a grocery store that has gas services that are now modernizing those gas services for the next generation of drivers. And that's where Electric Era comes in with our Electric Era charging station ecosystem.
And then like the infrastructure and like the utility side of things, you guys also work with that. How does that work?
Yeah, so we'll actually take care of jurisdictional permitting for our customers, utility interconnection and design services on behalf of our customer. We'll even project manage and oversee the construction of the site. We don't construct it ourselves, but we'll oversee the project management of it. And then at that point it's operational. And once it's operational, we'll oversee it in the cloud and actually provide real-time operations of it with our software systems And then if there's any sort of issues that pop up, like, a software fault or a hardware issue, we will either resolve that fault with our network operations team. We actually oversee all of our charging stations 24/7. And if it's a persistent hardware issue, we'll work with a third-party technician services firms to go out and resolve the issue, fix it, and get it back up and online rapidly. All of that comes together to provide, last quarter, a very, very high quality network experience for the driver community. We achieved 99.6% per port uptime, no carve-outs. So basically, literally almost 100% of the time, our entire network was operational down to the port level. And then we had 92% first shot session reliability, which is across everything from payments to car to charger interoperability. You show up, you tap your credit card, you plug in, and it works 92% of the time immediately, right away.
Okay, yeah, that's been a situation I've been into where you're like tapping and trying to figure out, and like you said, you have to download an app, and yeah, it's the charging out there. It's a mess, quite frankly. So if you guys are simplifying and making things more reliable, I am all for that.
Yeah, we're kind of aiming to be that sister company to Tesla. Rivian does a good job. I haven't had much experience, but the data I've seen shows that their network is pretty reliable and available as well. We're aiming to kind of be in that same kind of competency rung. And, of course, we have room for improvement. Who doesn't? But generally speaking, the experience is quite good. We see a very, very high degree of usage on our customer network and super strong feedback from the driver community. I think our average ranking on plug share across our stations is 95%.
Wow, that's which really good.
Which is like really, really good.
And it could be better. Too. Yeah,
and I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and it will be better over time. But yeah, and that's my promise to the audience is like we're just always going to make our products better. Like there's a ton of cool stuff coming down the pipe, so stay tuned.
So what other data are you able to see on your site? Are you able to see like uptime and what else? Like time at the charging or like anything else like that, or anything other interesting parameters?
Yeah, so we own the entire software platform for everything on site. So we have full all the way down to the hardware level, hardware control layer. So we have full visibility over literally everything on site, and we can even see the interface to the grid. Imagine any and all parameters associated with EV fast charging, such as like how fast the car is charging, how much money they've spent, how many times that driver's been there, where else they've been, in terms of other stations, how often people are interacting with the screen, the voltage level of the 483 phase voltage circuit coming off the grid. We know exactly what voltage level each of the lines are at. We know if it's online, if it's offline, what's it's offline for. If a payment's failed, we'll know it immediately. We'll know why a car failed to charge, all the way down to the interoperability level in certain cases, and then many, many other things. Like we know that every single charging station, like the back of our hand, because we're constantly streaming data off them.
How many stations do you have now, actually? Sorry to interrupt.
No worries. We have about 20 stations across the country.
Okay.
Yeah. I think a good framing for kind of the audience is our just briefly going back to the background of the company, our team is SpaceX Starlink. And, when you launch a satellite to space, you can't ever roll a truck to fix it. You can't send a technician out there to fix it, right? So all of the data and all of the operations of the asset have to be accessible via software. So if you need to improve something on the satellite, it needs to be done via software. And so we take that same exact mentality and software design approach, and we apply it to our charging stations. So what does that mean? It means our charging stations are actually operating autonomously. They can like think and make course corrections and change power control levers and parameters. And then if there are any sort of operational issues, they'll actually phone home and send us an alert, like literally immediately. And we'll be able to actually go on console and talk to them and see what's happening, and issue new software if needed, or roll a truck in the final case. But we try to do basically all of our station operations via software, and only at very rare locations will we send a truck. So roughly about 99% of issues are handled and resolved immediately with software on our charging station sites.
Okay. So what was the issue, or what was an issue that you had to actually send a truck out?
Oh yeah, I mean that happens from time to time. Like we'll occasionally go replace our edge compute system. So one of the other cool parameters about our product is that there's actually software running locally that's actually dictating in real time, meaning at a 20-second control loop, it's telling the charging station what to do. That little device, which is a little edge compute system, we've had to replace those in the past. So things like that will pop up, and we call those like a persistent hardware issue. And if it happens, we'll get an alert. We'll be able to like actually log on console, figure out, oh, this is what's broken, because we have so much telemetry and data. And then we'll be able to roll a truck within 4 hours or less to go and fix the asset with what they need to fix it. And this is notably different than what other companies do. Again, outside of Tesla, other companies, they don't even know it's broken. Typically, they won't find out for weeks. And a driver will call and say, hey, the station's broken. And they'll say, oh, okay, well, we'll roll a truck. And then they'll send a technician out there who will try to fix it and diagnose what broke. Well, all that could take literally like 4 to 5 weeks. That's crazy, right? So we do away with all of that. And, with the software driven kind of digital maintenance approach that we've architected.
I guess kind of hopping into the battery side of things, what chemistries do you typically use for the battery storage side of the system?
Yeah, so when we kind of architected the system, we did a bunch of trade studies, what would be called like a trade study. Again, this is like another kind of SpaceX engineering DNA pullover. Before you design something, you like canvas the whole industry, you canvas a bunch of different feasibility approaches, and you figure out which one is optimal. So when we looked at batteries, well, the first thing was we asked ourselves the question, do we need a battery? And then the answer to that was yes, because it could help reduce power delivery costs. It could help build our charging stations faster. So the next question was, okay, well, which battery do we use, and how big of a battery should we use? Which battery chemistry, I should say, should we use, and how big of kilowatt hours should it be, and how much power should it be able to dispense? And then that kicked off another series of trade studies. We ultimately, to answer your question, got to conclusion that the LFP-based chemistry was the best for the operation. For one, it was higher cycle count. For two, it generated less heat when discharged. Three, the cost curve of LFP battery cells, lithium iron phosphate, is depreciating very, very quickly. So generally, that was a much better use case or chemistry for the use case that we had, and that's we deployed a 270 kilowatt hour battery at every one of our locations that has lithium iron cells in it.
Okay. And I assume also you're able to keep up with like the state of health and state of charge and any internal resistance changes or anything like that, or also how many cycles that battery has been through.
Yeah. So state of charge, 100%. We know that. And state of health, we can do basically a state of health study after, every 100 or 500 cycles and figure out how many kilowatt hours can be moved in and out of the product by basically dataming the battery at a low SOC and then kind of charging it back up and counting the electrons that come into the battery.
Yeah, Coulomb counting. Yeah.
Yeah, Coulomb. Thank you. I was I was struggling. I was like, what's that word? Coulomb counting though. Yeah. And then that gives us an SOH consideration.
Okay.
And then part of what we do is we also, as you point out, monitor the total cycling that's occurred on life. So we can kind of index SOH versus degradation on the pack.
Yeah.
As a function of the cell or the cycle counts.
How large is your batteries typically? Do you vary in size, or is it just one size for all the systems that you build?
It's a modular approach. So if we need to add more battery kilowatt hours, that's totally doable. And we often do that. But our average is one 270 kilowatt hour battery pack.
Okay.
That can discharge up to 250 kilowatts.
Yeah, that's a big bolt of lightning there.
Yeah, man. There's a lot of safety consideration, and a lot of safety considerations. And I would say our team does a really remarkable job. Like, we were able to climb the certification competency ladder very quickly and fully compliant with all NEC codes, which is a hard task. And, shout out to the engineering teams at Electric Era who are just world class. Working at Electric Era is kind of like working for the Navy SEALs. It's like a super hardcore, hard engineering culture, I would say. And our team is quite good at what they do. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess also all the functional safety you have to do and all the DFMEA work must have been wild.
Yeah, I mean, and it's gonna get, there's a lot more of it to come, but generally there's tons of engineering that goes on every kind of functional use case, safety, design, optimization, manufacturability, all of that. To your point, it is a lot of work for sure.
So like the supply chain now, how is that working out with, so now you have the typical like transformers, DC fast charging components, plugs and all that, but then also now batteries. How's that like in general just going for you guys at the moment?
It's good.
Okay.
I think there's tons of room for improvement. I think our average installation across all of the things that need to come together. So think of supply chain, the actual production, the testing of the assets before they go out in the field, the construction of the site, the design, the permitting, the utility connection, power drop, and many other items all take on average across our sites 9 months. Our fastest is 54 days.
Yeah, that was the Costco one, right? I think I remember reading about that.
Yeah, I think our first Costco site was 3 months and our second site was about 54 days. So we can move super, super fast. And a big part of that is vertical integration across our company. So we don't farm out much work, right? We do it all in-house, and that gives us the ability to run it like a faster clock cycle, and be like more nimble on, exercising our production line, our supply chain, or software design, or whatever it is. And that was a big part of why we were able to build that site in 54 days. The other big part of it was that, we have a battery system on site, so we don't have to wait the typical years that others companies wait to build a charging station. We get around grid delays effectively by having an energy storage system on site, which allows us to lower grid capacity requirements on the order of 70%, which allows us to build sites faster because we can use smaller transformers.
So I guess walk me through how you're able to do that in 54 days. Like what was the initial like day 1 to day 54?
Yeah, I'll send you maybe something for the show notes that basically shows a actual schedule.
Okay.
Because we published the schedule online and it was in a bunch of the news reports. I'll have to dig it up and send it to you for the show notes. So effectively, day 1 was notice to proceed. So great, the customer said good to go. At that point, we kicked off, production, supply chain, construction plans, and utility permitting. We were able to be flexible with our supply chain and actually kind of leverage existing equipment from another site that was a slightly slower lead time, and poured it over to this project and backfill it. What really was our critical path item was getting construction plans complete. So basically doing the drawings for the site that shows exactly how it's ought to be constructed, where it's going to be, connected to the grid, what, type of code compliance considerations it will need, whether it's how it's actually laid out, space-wise across the parking station or the parking lot, and where we're going to run conduit and wiring. Like all of that is kind of in the construction plan phase. So that took about another, half months to finalize. It took about a month and a week to get utility and permitting fully complete back from the utility and the jurisdictional authority, at which point about 2 weeks later, we kicked off construction, which took about half a month. Hardware was delivered about halfway through construction. So the chargers, the battery systems, the switchgear, all of that came together, was installed, wired up. We then did about a 2-day electrical inspection, and, got final sign off from the utility and the jurisdictional authority. And then we commissioned the station around that same time period. So that's 2 months. That's kind of like how the sausage is made at a high level, at least. And
Yeah.
I'll be sure to send over the graphic that I'm referring to for your show notes. If
Yeah,
people
that'd
are
be
interested.
awesome.
Yeah.
And then are you able to like repeat that again, or was that like almost a one-off situation?
No, I mean, like to me, I think of that as like, okay, this is how fast we can sprint,
Yeah.
and technically we could probably go faster. Like if we wanted to do, if we wanted to use the same approach that Tesla does, which we're considering doing, which is kind of precast concrete skids where you have like everything pre-built. Like that was actually something we did at SpaceX for the Gateway programs way back in 2019, 2020. We would actually ship these large parabolic antennas on precast concrete, concrete structures, and then that way you don't have to do like all of the construction on site. So that's a way we could compress it. But for me, this is like, okay, this is us sprinting at full speed. What matters more though is like how fast can you run the marathon? And we want to get to the point where we're running, a 2-hour marathon, right? And so while we're not sprinting at full speed, but rather running at a sustainable rate that's really, really fast over long distances, that's what's going to really move the needle on electrification.
Yeah.
If we as a team can effectuate widespread growth in charging infrastructure availability for drivers, there's going to be kind of that circuitous and harmonious, virtuous feedback cycle with EV adoption. So this is kind of more what I'm orienting the company towards is don't just sprint a couple of sites a year, build hundreds of thousands of, or, not hundreds of thousands, but hundreds or thousands of sites a year at 6-month intervals.
Yeah.
That's way more better to optimize around and ultimately increases the impact of the business.
Yeah. I guess what is your goal for the number of sites you're trying to plan at the moment? I guess for the next 5 years, let's say.
Yeah. So I know over the next 7 or so years, we want to get up to about 10,000 charging stations total. That's the goal, which would be about 40,000 ports, on the order of 40,000 ports. That's extremely hard to do, to say the least. I mean, like we got to grow a lot as a business and get better and more efficient and make some design changes, but effectively it's doable. We just got to keep compounding and improving. This is a really important point, which is like everybody can tap into achieving major things, but you have to continuously work on it and then compoundly improve day after day and year over year. And if you do that, then suddenly, let's say you're a podcaster, right? Like suddenly you can become as big as Joe Rogan if you do that over 20 years. If you do podcasting over 20 years, you could eventually build that big of an audience. It's the same thing with anything in life. You just have to persistently work at something, and then you can become world-class at it.
Yeah. No, whenever I build my personal projects, I always try to tell myself, I got to do twist one nut a day, at least. Just something. Even if I have kids, if I have to do something with my baby, I'll come down, twist one nut, and then go back and finish. So
I love that, man.
That's how it goes.
That's a great mentality.
Yeah, because it's not going to get done if it just sits there and nothing gets done. So I totally agree with that statement.
This is one of those secrets of life, like kind of one of those life hacks, if you will, that if more people knew, that the world would be a much better place. Like it's just a little bit of persistence every single day.
Yeah.
That's how you build the pyramids, or that's how you build, the interstate highway system, or that's how you build a ubiquitous base of EV fast charging infrastructure that delights drivers.
Yeah. And like you said, you don't need a sprint every day either. Sometimes it's just like the one nut, just tighten that one bolt.
Yeah. I think that's the hardest thing for me to remember, to be honest, to, pace myself as a founder. I think that the typical founder inclination, especially coming from my background as a sprinter, is to just, or excuse me, a college athlete, is to like hunker down every day and like work like my absolute hardest. But I think, one of the things I've been learning now 5 years into the journey is, okay, you want to work at like 95% every day. You don't want to do 101% every day, because you're going to go into a deficiency, and you're going to be kind of underwater, and you're going to be
diminishing
burnt
returns. Yeah.
out. So wise words, Matt. Wise words.
Wise words.
that could be the name for the podcast. Wise words with Matthew Lawrence.
Yeah. Put a subsystem or a sub. What do they call it? Sub show.
Yeah.
But yeah, hopping back to electric era though, what is the 2030 goal? What has to really go right to meet that goal?
Yeah. So, I mean, a couple of cool things that some of which we've announced. So one is that for drivers, you should be able to find us on PlugShare and the other major apps. If you search electric era, we're going to be kind of publicly available as a discoverable network. And it's our customers' charging stations, but we act as that kind of discoverability interface for you. So if you want to bring delightful and reliable charging that replicates the supercharger experience to your life, come find us. In terms of your questions, Matt, like what's the next 5 years look like? I mean, there's a ton of stuff in terms of process improvement and design changes. One of the really cool things that we're going to be doing soon, that we've already unveiled on our website and online, is we're going to be adding a generative intelligence and AI assistant to our future charging stations, which will be able to actually talk and listen to EV drivers and answer questions and take actions on your behalf. Ultimately oriented around helping the driver shop, charge, and explore. So we've released demo videos online of the assistance around charging that I think are pretty profound, actually, because basically the AI assistant knows everything about the charging station and actually knows a lot about your car, and it knows what state of charge you're at. And it can surface all that information into the dialogue with you and answer questions.
Okay.
So drivers have tons of questions about, how to charge, how do I get a receipt, what payments do I take, why is there, a pre-authorization charge. All these things can be answered directly by the AI assistant that we've developed. So this is like a pretty foundational shift in what EV charging will be. I ask myself often, like, what is the future of this all look like? And I can't escape the inevitable conclusion that the future of the world will be animated with intelligence in pretty much every application. Like there will be live animated intelligence coming through us, or to us rather, in our cars, at our charging stations, in our homes, on our computers. So we aim to kind of take that big first step for the industry and be, a leader in AI assisted EV charging.
Okay. Yeah. So basically, if I were to roll up and I plug in and I don't see my car charging and I tap the screen and say, hey, my car isn't charging, what's going on? And it will reply back and say, hey, because the temperature of your battery is currently, below 10 degrees Celsius, we're trying to warm it up before we can blah, blah, blah. Is that reasonable?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
That's exactly right. Like somebody might say, hey, why is my car charging slow? And it would say, well, you're at 85% state of charge, and cars typically charge slower when they're at higher states of charge. So your power delivery rate is low right now.
Yeah.
Like your car is limiting it. Like it would have that much context and that much access to data.
Down to the vehicle level of like what brand I'm driving.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. And it will even know if your car is throttling it or if for some reason our charging station is throttling it. Like it'll know how many times you've been with us as well. So it will say, hey, welcome back, Matt. In the future, it'll say, welcome back, Matt. Thanks for charging with us. By the way, you just earned, a free discount on a slice of pizza inside the store, like because of your loyalty. Thank you for attending our charging station. So it'll have that much context about how often you've come to the location, and it'll be able to like actually even help link rewards programs that our retailer customers are offering to your charging experience.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah.
And then let's say you're on a road trip and you say, hey, like, do you have any recommendations for national parks to deliver or to go visit? I'm on after I leave here. And it'll say, well, yeah, sure. You're going to have 250 miles of range. You're going to be at 95% SOC when you leave. So you could go and explore Zion National Park. Let's say you're in Las Vegas. It's 100 miles away. I hope you enjoy the trip. Apparently, it's an amazing experience. So it can actually help you explore what's around you with the knowledge it has about your vehicle.
Yeah, that's I can definitely see that happening because some people might be out there wondering, what's going on with the charging or why it's not happening, or linking it up with the convenience store and getting like the the personalized experience. I think would mean a lot to a lot of drivers.
Yeah, I think that's to me the real reason to do AI, which is that it helps to create a more delightful and personalized experience for the driver. Like it actually adds utility value to the driver, most importantly. So I'll send you a clip to add to the show notes of a demo we put together recently for how this looks. And have your audience check it out and let me know what you think.
Yeah, definitely. Uh, I guess one thing I'm also thinking about is like since you have that battery, and then are you able to do vehicle to grid or even I guess charger to grid situations and like buy at certain times and sell back to the utility companies?
Yeah, and we can actually even automate that so that if we get an alert from the grid that says, "Hey, it's an emergency right now. We need you to curtail your usage." We can like have the battery discharge more into the cars and pull less energy from the grid. Um, and if we actually already have this is actually pretty cool. We've already automated what we call tariff optimization,
Tariff,
which
you said? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah, not the Trump tariffs, but
Okay.
what would be called an electricity or utility tariff.
Okay.
So utilities have their bills, and in the utility lingo, they call it an electricity tariff or utility tariff. So tariff optimization effectively means we have software that looks at the electrical tariff for that location and optimizes the energy usage and blend on site to lower the energy bills across, you know, both filling up the battery during cheaper times of the day and using less power grid infrastructure by discharging a little bit harder during certain parts of the month
Yeah.
so that the customer's energy bill is a lot lower, and that's savings that can be passed along to the driver.
Yeah. And then also like helping buffer during like peak usage or under usage for the utility company as well, right?
Yes, that's it. That is exactly right. So this is kind of the biggest advantage of our product, which is that instead of pulling full capacity from the grid to charge the cars, we pull 70% less grid capacity from the grid and fill up the rest and the remainder with the battery to charge the cars. And that effectively curtails or lowers the peak power consumption at a charging station. So simple math is for the audience, it's like an average charging station consumes about 1,000 homes worth of power on one city block. With electric air, we can reduce that to about 300 homes worth of power.
What about if you have a caravan of cars on a road trip and you have like six cars that need to charge up one after the other or probably even simultaneously? How would that, what would be I guess the control systems or the fail safes, or how would you even, I guess, operate with that much load coming from the vehicles?
Yeah, the short answer is that's exactly the design criteria that we engineer the system for.
Okay.
Yeah, so this happens all the time to us. So we have like this is actually pretty crazy. So we're a tiny company. We have only 20 sites. We have like so much usage on our customer stations. Like our customers are making good amount of money because drivers are finding these locations and are coming back again and again and again. So we see periods of 4 hours or more where there's just car after car after car after car after car. So we size our kind of our smallest station to support 70 sessions a day, our largest station to support about 140. And that involves both having enough energy storage on site and enough grid capacity to support the peak utilization that the site could theoretically experience. So the short answer is we design it so that the grid and the batteries in conjunction can support peak utilization over the course of a 24-hour period with effectively no deprecation into the driver experience.
I see. So you build for the worst case scenario, more or less.
Just like you engineer a rocket to survive the worst aerodynamic loading.
Yeah.
So it doesn't explode. It's the same idea. We design our systems to survive the worst, kind of electrical consumption loading, and still provide the kind of energy throughput that the drivers are requesting without any severe curtailment to the driver power levels.
Since we're talking about energy storage now, any situation where you would consider doing like residential, like smaller units, like, I don't know, 5 kilowatt hours, 3 kilowatt hours for a home?
That, for business reasons, is a market that I don't really want to go into, just mainly because it's super commoditized. Like, there's already a bunch of people doing that. There are interesting things you can do there. Like, you could have an energy storage system tied to a DC fast charger in your house, but the cost of doing that is probably outside of the appetite for an average consumer.
Yeah. I wasn't talking about DC fast charging, of course, just mainly the storage side of things.
Yeah, I think definitely interested in that like problem statement, but as a business, we're focused on other kind of greener fields, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, totally reasonable.
Yeah, but good, it is a good question. The home resi space is super interesting.
Yeah. So I guess if I wanted to, I have a lot that's not doing anything, how would I do something with you as a commercial lot? Or let's say I own a 7-Eleven or something like that.
Yeah.
What's the process there?
Go to our website, electricera.tech, and on the bottom right-hand side of the screen, you can see a little bubble that you can click, and you can actually talk with our team members live on our website, or you can reach out on our website under the Contact Us link and submit, an inquiry basically, and we'll get you to the right people and get you electrified.
All right. I guess last couple questions. We have the not the customer, but the fan questions. So this one's from Plug Insights on X. How was the uncertainty with NEVI funding affected their short-term and medium-range planning?
Well, shout out to Plug Insights, one of my favorite X followers. But yeah, I think one of the big advantages our company has is we sell a product that one of our big advantages that our company has is we sell a product that our customers want, oftentimes without any sort of subsidies. So about 50-ish% of our deals have no sort of government subsidies associated with it. So the remaining 50%, only about, I don't know, half of that, so call it 25% of our total deals, had any sort of NEVI exposure. At this point, we've completely backfilled that demand from other customers, from other non-NEVI projects. So it was definitely a bit of turbulence for a month or two, but the team kind of fought through it, honestly. The team is just incredibly persistent, kind of going back to what we were talking about earlier, Matt. And they were able to rebuild, sales pipeline and work around that problem. The good news is, if people, as of today, which, it's July 15th, roughly 10 a.m. in the morning when we're recording this, NEVI is, at least the first round of NEVI funding is back. So there was a lawsuit filed against the Department of Justice, the federal Department of Justice, and basically it was adjudicated in court that and ordered by, I won't go into all the legalese, but effectively the first round of NEVI funding is back. So that's great news, and we're going to go build a number of additional charging stations. The remaining, $4 billion or whatever that hasn't been allocated, TBD on that, but the expectation is that it will come back as well.
Another one from Plug Insights. What are the ideal use cases for a 8 to 10 port installation versus a 2 to 4 port installation?
So typically we don't do 2-port anymore. We've had 1 or 2 of those, I think, built, but we only build 4-port or up now. And their use cases are effectively the same. It's just more throughput. So if you have 4 ports, you can get 70 sessions maximum in a day. If you have 8 ports, you can get 140. The use cases, our preferred use cases, our customer preferred use cases is to have that next to a retail establishment. And that way there's this nice synergy between a driver showing up to charge their car. And then, they have about 20 minutes to relax inside of a store, go grocery shopping while their car's filling up. So that we find that makes a very attractive pairing for the EV driver community. And again, our kind of true north as a business is to delight the driver. So that's why we oriented towards that use case.
Okay. This one's from Chase Drum. Let's see. How the company leverages their approach to vertical integration for both hardware, software, and what have they learned from it along the way that was not obvious, or that was not originally clear or obvious to them?
Oh man, so much. Yeah. I mean, I think people have the false perception that, founding a company is just like all hunky dory and easy and you just succeed. But man, it's definitely not. It's a lot of ups and downs. So we've learned a lot. I mean, just like at a high level, I think the biggest important thing for people to realize is that all of the advanced products and companies of the 21st century are going to be built at the junction of software and hardware. And the tighter the coupling you have between hardware and software systems, the better the experience, and the more novel the product capabilities of the product can be. This was not my unique insight. This was rather something I learned at SpaceX, where they're using tight coupling between hardware and software to land rockets. At Electric Era, we use a very tight coupling of software to control all of the low-level hardware and higher-level hardware applications to basically provide a better driving experience. And that's actually integral to how we're able to gather so much telemetry, like we talked about earlier, and use that data to automate the charging station experience. So vertical integration is a key part of that. We own the full software stack, and we own predominantly all of the hardware engineering on site as well. And that gives us this really great experience that drivers loves.
Yeah. Their second question, how they leverage learning from their vertical integration and design to make location decisions for their DCFC installations.
Yeah, I mean, that one's less in our control, but what we do is we have a software system that we developed in-house that projects utilization over the next 10 years. And that's a software system we designed to provide our customers coaching on where to put their charging stations to maximize the usage of their network. But ultimately the customer makes the final decision on, okay, of these 10 sites, I want, 7 to be electrified.
Since they own the lot pretty much.
Since they own the lot, exactly.
And then a last question, are you able to share what they've learned to help them execute faster than other CPOs in bringing sites and staying online?
Yeah, I mean, I think I partially answered both of these questions earlier, but in summary, staying online I would say, comes down to automating the operations of the charging station with our fault detection, isolation, and recovery algorithms. And, building fast comes down to execution. You got to work really hard to get something done quickly and avoiding the grid upgrades.
Yeah, I think that's it from the fan questions. I guess, is there any interesting technology that you're keeping up with personally that may or may not be related to Electric Area or just for your personal life?
I think the kind of lunar economy and the space economy is going to be increasingly interesting, and I would encourage people to keep a close eye on companies building in that space. I also think that it's worth noting to the audience that there's like this major biologics AI revolution happening right now. Basically all of the same kind of LLM advanced technologies that have been built to power products like Grok are now, analyzing the data of the DNA, the human body, which, is the DNA.
Yeah.
And you can even use that in like interesting ways with similar types of approaches to generative AI to create novel drugs.
Yeah.
And
I've been reading a little bit about that too. It's pretty crazy. Like, since they're able to look at so many patients and situations, you basically can see different patterns that us as humans aren't able to verify yet.
yeah. What about you? What else you got going on or tracking?
For me, it's mostly motorcycle stuff. There's a lot of interesting things happening in the motorcycle space, because when it comes to motorcycles, you have the problem of small space and like being able to also look good in a sense, because all your parts are also exposed, right? So for people, they like things that look good, and you also have the challenge of putting as much energy as you can to a battery space, but then also the situation of power to weight ratios and how much energy can actually be utilized.
That's awesome. Yeah, that to me is like such a kind of unseen and interesting component of the electric powertrain revolution, which is best summarized by the simple statistic that the average Model 3 carries as much energy as 2 gallons of gas,
Right.
which is crazy to think about. 2 gallons of gas can get you 250 to 300 miles.
Yeah.
That's how amazing electric powertrains are. And ultimately, it shows up in the economics of owning the vehicle.
Yeah. I guess that's all I got for now. Thank you for coming on to Munro Live. Yeah, if you want to plug your socials again for the audience.
Yeah, I think, if people are interested in what we're doing, I would say follow us on X at Electric Era Tech and on LinkedIn at Electric Era, or Quincy Edmund Lee, which is my own personal account on X and on LinkedIn. And then I would say for drivers, if you want to level up your charging experience, you can search. You can find our locations on our website under the drivers tab, or find us on PlugShare. By the time this gets published, we'll be a listed customer network on there, so you can find our awesome customer locations and charge up and smile while you do it.
All right. Well, thanks again, Quincy. Thanks again for coming on to Munro Live.
You got it. Good to be here. Thank you for hosting me.